He never whines for attention. Hardy simply vanishes into a role, only to resurface, completely transformed. And behind those transfigurations stands a closed-off circle of giants he still refers to as the best. Hardy's constructed a career on chaos and control, walking the tightrope between raw strength and profound feeling. From Bronson to Bane, the Revenant to Locke, each performance is like a tempest that selected its timing. But when it comes to flattery, Hardy isn't coy. He doesn't merely compliment actors. He observes them, inhabits them, and occasionally he even names them. These aren't red carpet niceties. They're subtle encomiums from an actor who seldom cracks the door. But when he does, the names that slip through are saying everything. He's a genius. He's the reason I act. That's the guy I observe. Hardy has no interest in status. He's interested in change, the capacity to disappear utterly, then reappear with something tangible. He's collaborated with Oscar winners, cult legends, and a handful of complete disasters. But there are only 5 people mentioned when he's questioned about who influenced his craft. Below are the 5 actors Tom Hardy cites as the greatest of all time, and what each of them unlocked in him. And the final one, it's not who you expect, but it transformed him forever. Number 1, Gary Oldman. Certain actors motivate you. Gary Oldman reminds you of who you are not. Tom Hardy does not merely revere him. He circles him. At press tours and panels, Hardy has one response when the question is asked of him about the best actor living. It is never sensational. It is simply a name, Gary Oldman. Hardy has said, "Gary Oldman is my hero." That's not PR speak flattery. It's his guiding star. Because for Hardy, Oldman is not merely an actor. He's the blueprint, the evidence that you don't have to seek the light to command the stage. On the Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy set, Hardy had lines. Oldman didn't require any. He could steal a moment on a breath, a blink, a silence. Hardy observed that closely, and everything altered. He has stated that Oldman taught him a masterclass in restraint. No directions, only being there. And where Hardy portrays dark, muted, coiled personas, it's not imitation, it's legacy. Between shots on set, Oldman scarcely speaks. He becomes the character. I think that he just becomes not Gary the moment they yell action, and just doesn't return until they're wrapping. One member of the crew noted. Hardy witnessed it, admired it, then constructed his own iteration of it. Other actors burn hotly. Oldman smolders low, quiet, intensely. Hardy doesn't replicate that flame, but he knows where it began. This isn't mentoring. It's something odder, something more difficult to describe. Gary Oldman didn't only influence Hardy's work. He gave it permission. Number 2, Daniel Day-Lewis. Some actors disappear into a part. Daniel Day-Lewis constructs a new universe around it. Tom Hardy refers to him as the Ghost King, an actor so completely in it, so out of reach. He may as well be myth. But this isn't just praise. It's obsession. Because for Hardy, Day-Lewis is the ultimate endgame of acting. Hardy once said, "He makes me feel like I've barely scratched the surface." On There Will Be Blood, Day-Lewis isolated himself from the cast, spoke in character, slept in costume, and didn't break once. Hardy wasn't on that set, but he studied it like sacred text. Every look, every pause, every silence stretched into danger. What Hardy learned wasn't about size. It was about stillness. Day-Lewis doesn't move fast. He does not bellow. But the tension simmers beneath the surface like a bomb that refuses to explode. Hardy attempted it on the Revenant himself. He went method, remained in character off-screen, became impossibly still. Some crew members believed he was being obstinate. But Hardy was not being difficult. He was pursuing Day-Lewis's level. One director described seeing Day-Lewis work as being in church. Hardy never forgot that line. This isn't imitation. Hardy isn't attempting to be Day-Lewis. Himself knows he can't. But each time he performs, it's that discipline, that patience, that gradual pressure build that resounds. Day-Lewis didn't hand Hardy a torch. He planted it deep, and Hardy's been excavating for it ever since. Number 3, Marlon Brando. Hardy doesn't worship Brando. He analyzes him like a crime scene. Because Brando didn't merely perform. He rewrote the rules. He mumbled. He stumbled. He stopped in mid-sentence. And the world held its breath. For Hardy, that disarray was not sloppy. It was music. Brando himself had said, acting is the expression of a neurotic impulse. And Hardy knew. As a boy, Hardy would rewind take after take on the waterfront just to see Brando scratch his skull, stammer, or avert his gaze. Those were not flubs. They were Brando blowing up the notion of tidy, classical acting. Brando did not give lines. He pulled them from the bottom of his gut. And that risk, that uncertainty, altered everything. It granted license. Hardy's entire arsenal, emotional unpredictability, physical contortion, latent rage, derive from that Brando template. They both construct characters in reverse. The stance changes initially, then the face, then the voice, then the collapse. Hardy's early performances in Bronson were not merely uncouth. It was Brando level, unpredictable, explosive, grotesque, magnetic. Directors described it as beautiful madness. What they were saying, Brando would have approved. Hardy once quipped that Brando would have despised him. Too much effort, too much control. But somewhere deep inside, Hardy's seeking that same wildness. The performance that is half lost, half alive. That's the Brando effect. He didn't simply show actors how to feel. He learned how to conceal it, enough to get you to lean in. And Hardy's been playing that game since. Some actors become masters. De Niro was a religion. Hardy does not admire De Niro at a distance. He works him like a cipher to be solved, frame by frame, line by line. Because if Brando broke the rules, De Niro rewrote them in blood, silence, and fixation. There's a tale Hardy shares. He was 18, sitting through Raging Bull by himself. The screen went dark, his chest constricted, and he wasn't moved. He was terrified. De Niro didn't want to act. It was possession. Hardy has described De Niro's performance in Taxi Driver as unwatchable in the best way. You wince, you freeze, you believe. That's Hardy's standard. They both lose themselves in a role. They both construct from the bottom up. Weight gain, muscle mass loss, broken noses, busted teeth. It's not transformation for applause. It's preparing for war. Hardy remembered The Deer Hunter and saw De Niro and knew what stillness could do. Silence as a weapon. A pause as a scream. It's something Hardy brings to each performance, particularly the ones where he does not much speak. Consider Mad Max Fury Road. Hardy said only 63 words during the first hour, but it's one of his most brutal, visceral performances. That wasn't a coincidence. That was De Niro's ghost. They've never shared a credit, but Hardy refers to De Niro as the benchmark, not in terms of style, but sacrifice. He disappears, leaving only the role behind. You don't quote De Niro. You don't copy him. You simply stand there and watch him disappear. Tom Hardy does not idolize performances. He idolizes dedication. And nobody dedicates the way Sean Penn does. It has nothing to do with Oscars. It has nothing to do with box office. For Hardy, Penn is risk, the kind that incinerates every take to ashes and challenges the crew to continue rolling. He watched Mystic River with fists clenched. He described it as watching something you shouldn't be watching. Not acting, not a character. Pain. Raw, real, unfiltered. That's what drew him in. Penn doesn't charm. He doesn't chase likability. In Dead Man Walking, he made a monster human. In Milk, he made a human immortal. And every time he disappears so deeply, it's terrifying. Hardy once joked that Penn doesn't break the fourth wall. He kicks it in, stares you down, and walks through. But it's not bravado. It's exposure. Penn's vulnerability is risky because it's always grimy. His characters don't weep for pity. They hemorrhage for life. Hardy has said Penn acts like he has nothing to lose. And that's precisely why Hardy observes him before each high-risk performance, particularly The Revenant. Hardy learned from Penn's 21 grams scene by scene, the nervous loss, the uneven rhythm, the silence between words. It altered his methodology. Hardy knew that silence can scream, that anger does not require loudness, that destruction can be hushed. Penn's not a role model. He's a reminder that something costs truth. And Hardy, he's still paying one role at a time. He doesn't tell you, but you can see it in the choices, in the silence, in the tempest just beneath the exterior. Hardy never required the limelight. He required the truth. And these 5 thespians did not merely demonstrate what was possible. They demonstrated how far he had yet to travel.